Let's check out more examples of limits. Here are some examples of very large over very large. The way you see that is by checking forms. You're checking the numerator and the denominator here. So e raised to very large. What is e raised to very large? Well, that is still very large. And what is very large squared? Well, that's still very large. So we have very large over very large. Now, I typically write very large over very large in a bubble because it's really not math. You got to remember infinity is not even a finite number. So what I draw here is actually a bubble, and I sometimes call this bubble math. This is really fake mathematics, and so it really doesn't belong anywhere in your solution. But this does notify that the reader that I have actually checked the form. So that's why I document this over here. We write very large over very large. I have checked the form. And now we're ready to apply L'Hopital's rule. L'Hopital's rule says this simplifies to be the limit as t gets very large to the derivative of the numerator over the derivative of the denominator. So notice the numerator requires a chain rule. The derivative gets you that. And the denominator is simply 2 times t. We once again check the form. If you check the form now, it's very large over very large still. Wait, that still allows you to use L'Hopital's rule again. So I'm going to document that with a letter H, H over the equal sign, and we'll apply L'Hopital's rule again. The chain rule gets you that derivative in the numerator, and now we only have the number 2 in the denominator, and we could check the form one more time. Wait a second. If you check this form, this says very large over 2, but that is a determinate form. So what's very large over 2? Well, that's going to go towards infinity. And that's another way of saying this limit does not exist, okay? You do know that the function values are getting very, very, very large. It does not approach a finite number, so we do know that this limit does not exist. Let's look at another example. Whoa, wait a second. This says it's supposed to be infinity over infinity, or very large over very large. What does that mean? This means, well, we just got to look at our algebra. We got to master our algebra skills. Mastering algebra skills will help you learn so much more calculus. There it is. There's a function in the numerator. There's a function in the denominator. We'll go ahead and check the form. The square root of very large is still very large. E raised to very large over 2 is still very large. And we once again have an indeterminate form. And we'll apply L'Hopital's rule. Notice the denominator required a chain rule there. And you could check the form here. The form here looks like 1 over very large. And what's 1 over very large? You know, what if you did 1 divided by 1 billion? This is hypothetical. What do you think 1 divided by 1 billion is? Think about it. Now, if you can't see that, you could definitely rely on your algebra. Algebra says I could write this fraction as this. And you could check the form here. 1 over very large, well, that means this limit is going to 0. Therefore, with careful analysis, you could conclude that this limit is going to 0.